you very much. Matt, can you please read the bill out for us?
Yes. So this is Prince George's County Alcoholic Beverages Cigar Lounge License. This is PG 303-24, also House Bill 374. This bill establishes a Class BCL cigar lounge beer, wine, and liquor license in Prince George's County, which authorizes the license holder to sell beer, wine, and liquor for on-premises consumption at cigar lounges. The license holder is restricted to selling alcohol in the same manner as the holder of a Class C beer, wine, and liquor license, and the annual license fee is $900. This bill also excludes this license from certain distance restrictions pertaining to a place of worship and schools. Finally, a retail tobacco business that is a sole proprietorship, limited liability company, corporation partnership, or other enterprise that operates in the county under this license is excluded from the requirements of the Clean Indoor Air Act. There is an amendment, and I can jump right into what the amendment does if
Please feel free.
Okay, so the amendment alters the license from a Class B to a Class D, so it would be a Class D CL cigar lounge beer, wine, and liquor license. The amendment also prohibits the board from issuing more than 4 licenses under this section, and it prohibits a license to be issued at a cigar lounge that is located within 10 miles of another cigar lounge in the county and not equipped with a humidor. The amendment also alters the hours and days requirement, which was initially the same as a Class C license, to now just on Monday through Sunday from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. the following day. And the amendment finally removes the exclusion from the distance restrictions that were in the bill. So now the distance restrictions from a school and place or worship would apply.
And Matt, for the sake of clarity and those who are watching and or listening, could you please explain the distance requirements?
Yes. So under current law, there certain Class B licenses are restricted to, they're not allowed to be within 500 feet of a place of worship or 1,000 feet of a school building. And under the bill as originally drafted, the cigar lounge license would be exempted from that restriction requirement. But with the amendment is removing the exemption so that a holder of a Class DCL cigar lounge license would be required to comply with that 500-foot and 1,000-foot distance restriction.
Thank you. I am back in the meeting. Thank you, Vice Chair Woods, for taking over. So this bill, we've discussed it a few times. I wasn't sure whether Senator Watson was going to join us. Obviously, he has not. Are there any questions about the bill or the amendments? Any discussion? Vice Chair Woods.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Delegate Ivy.
Yeah,
Hi.
so
Thank
council, the amendment, it altered the type of liquor license classification that it would be operating on. It was from you said a B to a C or something?
Yes, it was originally drafted as a Class B and it altered it to a Class D.
Okay, and what's the difference between that?
So, so my understanding is that Class B licenses have to maintain certain kitchen and food requirements that a Class D would not have to maintain.
Yeah, a Class B license. Good question, Delegate Ivy. I didn't even know what a Class D was. That a Class B is an on-site alcohol consumption with food. I guess this cigar lounge license, there would be no food at all. Is that correct, Mr. Biazard?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay,
yeah.
Madam Chair, I've got one more question.
Yes, go right ahead, please.
So this is an exemption to the Indoor Clean Air Act. Is this
That's correct.
take place other places across the state? Are there other cigar lounges?
So I'm told there are, however, this is the controversy. And I spoke last night to a representative of the various health organizations, the Heart Association, the cancer folks. And I asked again this question, because I presented this bill to the Economic Matters Committee on Monday with all of our other alcohol bills. And there was a pretty lively, back and forth between the committee, not me. I just presented the basic bill and shared, of course, with Economic Matters that we had not taken a position on it. What I didn't realize going into ECM is that was a full-blown hearing on the bill. And so there was one proponent of the bill. There were several opponents of the bill. And that question was asked by various members of ECM who said, isn't it true that there are cigar lounges in Anne Arundel, and there's at least one in Charles. There's 2 or 3 in Anne Arundel, at least one in Charles, 1 or 2, even I've heard at least one in Prince George's. Not exactly a cigar lounge, but I found out 2 things, and I verified this last night when I talked to somebody who's very knowledgeable about the issue. None of those other places where there's cigar smoking occurring, none of them have exemptions. There are no exemptions to the 2007 Clean Indoor Air Act. So it's not clear how they are operating, whether they are operating under some different scheme, but this would be the first exemption, this proposed bill by Senator Watson, this would be the first exemption to the Clean Indoor Air Act, which of course ban all forms of smoking in bars and restaurants. So this is a little bit different, but it's what I'm told is, Delegate Ivey, it's a little bit like comparing apples and oranges, but I can't, say much more than that about these other places that exist where there's cigar smoking. Except the one other thing is they also, my understanding is, are not serving food at all. They are, and I don't know if you know this, Mr. Biazard, because I have gotten this reversed, but one, it's either that the cigar smoking is the primary purpose, and then the accessory use is alcohol, or the other way around. But they tend to have these breakdowns that are required where like 70% of the sales have to be the tobacco related, the cigar, and 30% alcohol, or something like that, 80-20, 70-30. But that's about the extent of my knowledge about what's out there.
And to council, we're all on this is all correct?
Yes, the only thing that I can really add is that, so under the Clean Indoor Air Act, it specifically says that a retail tobacco business that is a sole proprietorship, limited liability company, corporation, they're exempt from the Clean Indoor Air Act if the primary activity, like Chair Lehman was saying, is the retail sale of tobacco products and accessories, and the sale of other products is incidental. So I don't know if with the sale of alcohol coming in, that's why this would need to be exempted under the Clean Indoor Act, where otherwise it wouldn't need to be.
Yeah, or the one other venue that I have a little bit of insight about, and I've wanted to visit it just to see it for myself, but it's been brought up to me a few times, is there's a cigar patio at Live Casino. And the reason why that is not, doesn't require an exemption under the Clean Indoor Air Act is it's outside. It's separated by the rest of that venue, where the alcohol is served by like a foyer or a vestibule that's pretty good size, so that you have to go through 2 sets of doors to get out to the patio to smoke your cigar. So in other words, the smoking is occurring outdoors and not where the alcohol is being served. So that didn't require an exemption. It's a completely different setup. I did ask Senator Watson a few weeks ago whether he had considered that same sort of setup so that he wouldn't have to seek an exemption to the Clean Indoor Air Act. And he said that that was not possible. He didn't think in Prince George's, just because it requires quite a bit of extra space for that arrangement to have, an interior location for the alcohol and then a space in between, so that somebody's not just like stepping outdoors and holding a door open while they smoke, and the smoke isn't drifting back inside. But he just said that's not realistic for probably most folks that would be interested in seeking this license. Any other questions? Delegate Ivey, I see Delegate Alston has her hand raised.
Was Delegate Ivey finished? I
Yeah,
didn't want to interrupt. Okay.
go
All right.
ahead.
So what I wanted to say was, I have been to a few cigar lounges in other jurisdictions, and I do believe that this is a business that we should look at for our county, because personally, I'm tired of going to restaurants where they're have these makeshift areas for people to smoke, and then that smoke is actually coming into the restaurant.
Yeah.
And we have several restaurants that are doing that. And I think if we just had a license where people were clear that these are the cigar lounges, this is where you can go smoke. So if people want to be in that type of environment, they know exactly what they're getting into, versus I go to Grace's for dinner, and as soon as I walk in the door, I'm, bombarded with cigar smoke because they have their little patio right at the front door. So you can't even get away from it as you're walking in. And I don't think that's the right model for our county. I would much rather us have actual lounges that are nice and elegant and possibly upscale, where people who want to engage in cigar smoke can actually do that. I know my husband and my brother, they enjoy those activities. They go out of county frequently for it because there are no venues really here that will accommodate. And most of those other places don't actually have, they don't serve food generally, and a lot of them don't have liquor licenses. So I think this would just add the clarity needed in the law so that we know exactly where it is, exactly what's happening. And as a consumer, I can choose whether I want to be around the smoke or not, versus going somewhere thinking that it's a smoke-free environment and finding out it's not once I get there. So that's all I wanted to say. And I do have a subcommittee meeting with my main committee at 9:30.
Thank you, Delegate Alston, for those observations. Yeah, those other locations are not serving food. That is the case. You were correct there, and that accessory or incidental use, I think, is the term Matt used. I think that setup is only specific to 2 venues in Anne Arundel County. The other ones, I think, as you mentioned, I had heard that for the first time in the Economic Matters Committee, that at least some, if not most, of the other places that exist, and there aren't many, to be clear, but they are BYOB locations, apparently, where they don't even have an alcohol license, or at least that's what I heard. In any case, if there are not any other questions and someone wants to make a motion on this bill, I would entertain a motion. We have enough people to move forward. Delegate Alston?
Move favorable on the bill as amended.
Excuse me. Oh, okay, thank you. I was going to say we need to move the amendment first.
Mr. Biazar, do we need to move the amendment separately?
Yes, that's correct. Vote on the
Okay,
amendment
so I'll take a
first.
motion on the amendments.
Move the amendments.
Second.
Okay, so all in favor of the amendments. Can we take a voice vote, Mr. Biazard, on this?
Yeah, voice vote is okay for the amendment.
Okay, so all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, okay, thank you. And I'm a no, so the amendments carry 3-1. So now I will entertain a motion on the bill.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion favorable on the bill as amended and a second. Mr. Biazard, do we have to do a roll call vote, or can we do a voice vote?
Roll call.
Okay, could you call the roll?
Yes. Vice Chair Woods,
Yes.
Delegate Alston,
Yes. And I'd like to explain my vote when we're done.
Go ahead.
Do it now.
Sure.
In explaining my vote, I just want the public to know that for full transparency, I've already ran this through ethics. My brother and my husband are looking into the possibility of opening a lounge. They were looking at this before this bill came up. And so I just want to be on the record so that I'm completely transparent. I personally don't like cigar smoke, and I certainly don't like being bombarded with it. So I think having the license actually will just be better for the public to know where these things are taking place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Delegate Ivy,
Yes.
Chair Lehman.
No. So the vote carries 3-1, and we will need a letter to go to the Economic Matters Committee, or no, I'm sorry, we still have to vote this in the full delegation. But assuming we do that Friday, then a letter does have to go to ECM. They will be waiting for that. So with that, this is, as of right now, our final meeting of the Law Enforcement Subcommittee. I thank all of you for your patience. We've had challenges with the scheduling on Thursdays and the conflict with the Black Caucus. I am committed to talking, God willing, if I'm back on this subcommittee next year with all of you, that we should look at changing the time altogether so we do not run up against Black Caucus. I know that is very important to all of you, and you should not be in the difficult position of having to choose between these two meetings on Thursday morning. So thank you to all of you for sticking with this and doing your best to make as many meetings as you can. With that, if there are no other questions or any business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. So we are officially adjourned with no plans for a meeting next week, but stay tuned in case something comes up. Thank you to everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.